How many times have I discussed disproportionate rates within the black community on this channel? Disproportionate crime rates, the education gap, disproportionate imprisonment rates, so on and so forth. Time after time, I've explained how these disproportionate rates, as it relates to race, have more to do with culture than anything else. That explanation doesn't change when it comes to a worldwide pandemic either. Culture matters. Today, with the COVID-19 pandemic, something that's out of the control of human beings, you would expect that people wouldn't focus on disproportionate rates of anything other than the rate of deaths versus the survival rate. But leave it to the left. They will find racism in any negative outcome that ever comes into the public eye. Recently, there are some on the left who have done everything they can to try and capitalize off a tragedy so great that you would think that they would only be thinking about bringing people together. While so many people are sick, jobless, and dying, these folks are focused on race. For that reason, I thought it important to come back and try to show people that we should still try to remember just to consider culture. Just the other day, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez posted a tweet that prompted me to step away from my work-at-home setup, my homeschooling how-to books, my taking inventory on all the toilet paper and sanitizer in the house, and to pull me away from watching all the do-it-yourself math tutorials on YouTube, and instead address the direction some folks on the left are deciding to take this pandemic event. AOC's post discussed disproportionate rates of COVID-19 deaths within the black and brown communities. Now, a disproportionate rate of deaths for blacks didn't shock me. In fact, I had written a post about this back on March the 20th in a Facebook group. I actually stated that I had been thinking that black people could potentially be the hardest hit by the coronavirus. But my reasons for this differed a bit from that of AOC's reasoning. AOC blamed redlining, environmental racism, and the wealth gap. Now, I have no idea what she's talking about when she talks about redlining and environmental racism. What the hell is environmental racism anyway? Meanwhile, wealth hasn't seemed to prevent many rich folks from getting the disease either. COVID-19 doesn't care about your demographics.
Now, we do have some breaking news moments ago. Actor Tom Hanks, his wife Rita Wilson, they have tested positive for coronavirus. By the way, they are in our prayers tonight.
This morning, I got some test results back for coronavirus, and it came back positive. Yeah, and it sucks.
So as you can see, there are quite a few celebrities and people who have quite a bit of money who have contracted COVID-19 or the coronavirus. So no matter where you are or how much money you make, this thing can impact you. It just goes to show that money isn't really a big factor with COVID-19. But that still doesn't explain why there's a disproportionate amount of blacks who are getting this disease.
Check this out, okay? In Illinois, out of 15%, 42% is African American. In Louisiana, African American. In Michigan, 41% African American. Out of 16,000 deaths, 8,000 of them are African American.
How did we get to this point? Let's go back a little bit in time and see.
So coronavirus, are we not worried about it at all?
It's fake.
You think it's an agenda?
Yeah, I don't think minorities can't catch it. We straight.
They
Say
said
that one more time.
Minorities can't catch it.
Minorities can't catch coronavirus.
Nah.
A lot of these viruses we're immune to.
Yeah.
Because our skin is radiant and our skin comes from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That is our superpower, melanin.
Yeah.
One of the people in South Africa that contracted the coronavirus has stated that his physician told him that one of the reasons he did not get sick and that he is alive is because of his black skin or darker skin. The physician advised him that antibodies of Black people are 3 times stronger, powerful, and resistant compared to those of white people.
Massa, we sick. Massa, we sick. No, Massa sick. You stupid pig. You not sick. Talking about we. We ain't no we. Pig. You know what I'm saying? It's a coronavirus that's out here, but it's not for us. Ain't no us. Ain't no, you know what I'm saying? Like we all one and we are the world. We are the children. We ain't nothing. I ain't a part of that. Y'all a part of it on y'all own. It's affecting y'all. I see white people. I done seen some news reports. They had people laying in the beds all next to each other with bubbles over their head, with bags of clear tanks over their head. Them everybody laying in that bed. There wasn't no Black people in that bed.
So as you can see, as this began, there were a whole lot of people talking like this could never affect Black people. Like this was not going to impact Black folks at all. But then you had the NBA, right? And you had these players coming down with the coronavirus or testing positive for COVID-19, and the whole NBA shuts down.
Developing overnight, what a scene in Oklahoma City. The NBA suspended its season after a player on the Utah Jazz tested positive for coronavirus.
They postponed the game and later suspended the NBA season after reports came out that Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19.
Jazz star Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for coronavirus, along with his teammate Rudy Gobert. This happening, of course, before last night's game against OKC. The NBA suspending play for the remainder of the season with so much unknown here. Again, Donovan Mitchell testing positive for COVID-19.
After the entire NBA shuts down for the season, you would think that Black folks would look at that and say, maybe we should take this a little bit more serious. Nope.
We are here live in the rig, in the middle of the rock, on Corona, we in the spot to be. And you ain't out here, your ass is trash. Already, buddy. Just know that, okay then. I'm a big dog, young niggas got these niggas pissed off. Yeah, I'm feeling like a rocket feeling lit off.
Yeah, that's a Corona-Nique 2020, a Sunday Funday in Little Rock, Arkansas, which means that this was a promoted event. So people were promoting it based on the fact that there was a coronavirus, and they were, throwing up their middle fingers to the virus and going out and having a day of fun. I also should note that I didn't go looking for a lot of this stuff until after I would see it on my timeline. I would see friends on my timeline posting parties and things of that nature, people on Instagram posting parties, and of course you would see news feeds where the news would have police officers going in to break up parties, and I would see those things on there, and over again there was a disproportionate amount of young Black folks who were in these videos and in these I guess you would say police raids, where they're basically breaking up get-togethers and parties. Most of these were actual parties. Now, that's not to say that whites weren't involved as well, or other groups weren't involved.
If I get corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. We've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while.
But there's a disproportionate amount of Black folks who I was seeing in these videos, which kind of matches what AOC was talking about in the disproportionate rates of Black people getting coronavirus, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's how we doing it in my city, man. We don't give a fuck about the coronavirus. That's how we celebrate our coronavirus, bitch. You got 1,400 people watching you right now.
All you have to do is stay at home and watch TV. Stay home and read a book. Stay home and listen to a podcast. Stay home with your significant other. Stay home with your kids. Stay home scratching your literally just staying home is the greatest way you could love thy neighbor right now. And for whatever reason, it's the most difficult thing for some folks to do. Let's be for real. 95% of the time you outside, You're not doing anything productive. You're just out to be out. Okay. When the reality is you could be doing nothing at your crib. But now when you go out during this global pandemic, you still are doing nothing. But in the process of that nothingness, you are potentially spreading something. And that something is the coronavirus.
And Charlemagne the God is absolutely right. And these actions are why we have the outcome that we have right now.
More than half of all cases in Chicago are in the African American community.
This map shows the 98 total virus deaths in Chicago, mostly on the south and west sides. 72% of these cases are black Chicago residents. Consider Chicago's overall population just 30% black. And the numbers skyrocket for black residents with diabetes or heart disease.
The governor and the mayor have been urging people to take the warning seriously, but still some people refuse to listen. So Chicago police are getting involved, especially when dozens of people showed up to parties overnight. Now, police got a call about a party in the Noble Square neighborhood last night. Officers showed up around midnight and found dozens of people inside this home near Greenview Avenue and Black Hawk Street. That's when officers told everyone to leave. One woman leaving the party said around 30 people, mainly family and friends, attended the party. Not too long after that, police got a call for another large gathering, this time in the Austin neighborhood at an apartment building in the 4900 block of West Van Buren. Two guys leaving the party even had on a protective face mask.
I can't help but note that the majority of these people seem to be young. You take a look at the people in these videos, and for the most part, they are younger adults. And I would speculate that a good deal of them are going home to elderly parents or grandparents and, you know, potentially spreading whatever they picked up at these parties to the elderly folks in their houses. I've actually spoken to a couple of my former students who I had seen on Instagram gathering and asked them, you know, if they're going back home to visit their parents, and they let me know that yes, they had. And, you know, when I said, you know, are you afraid that you're going to pass, you know, a virus onto them that may kill them? No, they weren't. And this one particular young person told me that they were washed in the blood of Jesus and that their parents were as well, and that Jesus would protect them. Which brings me to this next clip.
Last weekend, parishioners were observed on camera not practicing social distancing. This Sunday, media was not allowed on the property. Spell setting the record straight that his son's parishioners are not being forced to attend.
So obviously there are some churches. This church was a mixed church, but as you can see there is a large portion of that church that is African American or black. So again, we have these decisions that people are making that are putting lives in jeopardy.
I want to challenge our clergy leaders that if God, you believe, gave you charge over people, that charge is to also use your charge to keep them safe. The Holy Ghost does not suspend common sense.
And that's just one portion of this, of course, because we have another portion, which is the choices that people have made in the past. And those choices could be choices about where they live, choices about how they eat, so on and so forth. Let's look directly at what's probably causing the disproportionate rates of infections in the black community so we can, once again, rule out any type of racism. By the way, this may surprise some of you, but diseases can't be racist.
Jungle Bunny. Thank God for the sickle cell, huh?
Okay, maybe that one is. If someone points out that blacks don't have a lot of money, I have to counter and say that large cities often cost more to live in than some places that are more rural. Moreover, there are more poor whites than poor blacks in America, so we should expect to see more poor whites getting the disease if poverty levels were the cause of the spread. Furthermore, blacks do have the option to live in these rural communities, despite any ideas about redlining. So obviously, where people choose to live is a choice based on their income and other factors. Another choice that some blacks make is not being well informed.
Ignorance is, causing us to have a rapid increase.
The numbers tell a deadly story. 3 cities, Detroit, Chicago, and New Orleans, all with incredibly high percentages of blacks dying from the virus at rapid rates.
I was surprised by the fact that many of my peers didn't know about the coronavirus until it got in their city. I started to warn people in January about it, and they still didn't take it seriously or even pay me much attention until it actually got into our neck of the woods or made local news. Once everybody was buying up all the toilet paper in the stores is when many people, black or otherwise, began to take it more seriously. To be clear, this wasn't just a black issue, but it's something I need to point out regardless. One thing we certainly cannot forget is the underlying conditions that so many blacks have. These too are often related to choices people are making, dietary choices mainly. Food choices can affect rates of heart disease and diabetes, which come with their own risk without COVID-19. But adding the pandemic to the mix certainly makes those issues more dire and makes COVID-19 a virtual death sentence to people with those conditions. The other thing is that there's a large portion of the black community that simply distrusts the government. So taking a pandemic seriously requires that they actually trust the government enough to listen to them. And if it's coming from the President of the United States, we all know black people don't have time to listen to a racist like Donald Trump.
Love Donald Trump. Yeah, love Donald Trump.
This might explain, when looking at pictures and videos, why you see many people who are not taking very seriously the social distancing and shelter-in-place measures that many states have urged their communities to adhere to happen to be black. Again, I'm not saying that blacks are the only ones engaging in such behaviors, but there sure seems to be a disproportionate rate which matches the disproportionate rate that AOC mentioned. And that makes a lot more sense than claiming that racism is the cause. So, next time someone such as AOC jumps online to give their opinion on reparations for people who make choices that cause them to be at greater risk, make sure you respond by telling them to simply consider culture. I'm Chi Brown. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, comment, and share. And I'm out.
No more yowza bowza. Just wait till I cut these strings. Just wait till I cut these strings.